Greetings and salutations, everybody. It is Wednesday night. We have been doing this for a year. Kind of amazing to think about. Vibe Rant turns 1 year old today. That's 51 episodes in 52 weeks. Only took 1 week off. I guess I deserve that. I'm super excited. We have so much planned for everyone tonight. This is going to be a classic decode Vibe Rant. We've got Andy Crone, aka Andrea, aka the Cozy Crone. First time Vibranter, long-time contributor in our awesome community. And Gabriel's with us and joining us before too long, we ought to see Joshua Donohew, aka 33 The Branch, that guy with the cicada profile picture that everybody loves. And yeah, we out here. It's party time. How you doing, Andy? Welcome to Vibe Rant for the first time.
Thanks. It's cool to be here. It's groovy.
Yeah, and I think it was your idea to do this. We're going to be talking about, it's not exactly a brand new film. It's from 2012, and I've heard people decode this before and discuss it before, but I think it deserves our slant, if you will, or our straightening out, maybe is a better way of putting it, rather than slanting. And I think it was your call that suggested we do this, and we've had it planned for a long time. So tell us a little bit about why, you wanted to talk about the weirdness of I Pet Goat 2.
I think it was actually Joshua's idea, but I just kind of interceded.
Say his name and he just popped in.
Summoned. But I wanted to talk about it because I spent just way too much time down that rabbit hole not to. So I got a lot of insights, probably about a month worth of time that's all I did was decode that video.
Yeah, that says a lot because it's only about 7 minutes long. You can spend a month talking about it. Oh, yeah. And Josh is with us. He's just getting his devices connected up. We'll see him in a second, or at least hear him. Gabriel, how you doing, buddy? What are your opening thoughts on this film?
I'm stoked that we're coming back at it, further down the road. From what we've divulged in our private Telegram communications, it turns out there are some real nifty, potentially predictive elements that are coming to the forefront again. So it is definitely worth a relook with this 2022 hindsight.
Yeah, 10 years later. So this came out in 2012. It was created by some mysterious Canadian CG artist who goes by Heliofant. And I thought that was interesting because it started me down the line of thinking about that name, Heliofant. Helio is obviously the sun, and Fant, like Phant, it comes from a Greek word, phano, meaning to show. And it's fascinating how that actually, people will often say, instead of Hierophant, they'll say Hierophant. They'll say font instead of fant. And a font is like a wellspring, right? But it's also a text. It's a script. So Heliofant is to show the sun, or the language of the sun, the script of the sun, which is what the, the priest class has always been about, encoding the mysteries of the sun and the logos in the actual logia, the language. So Joshua, I see that you are with us, my friend. Can you say hello? Many meows.
Meow. Pardon me. I'm a cat man. Yeah. So this has been a long-standing, cryptogram of sorts. Since 2012, this has been a hotly contested, debated, decoded piece of media. And yeah, a month is sounds about right. You could spend a lot longer than that on it. And what I was enjoying so much about this gathering is how we're all coming from different backgrounds. Some of us have seen it 100 times. Some of us have seen it once. Some of us have a biblical background. Some of us have, different backgrounds. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of this that I hadn't already, seen from my perspective. So I'm really excited about that.
Very cool. Yeah, you guys have been preparing this information for quite a while, and I admit I'll be a little more just replying by the seat of my pants here, but this is something I did spend time on too, probably maybe 1.5, 2 years ago. Still kind of late to the party. I had no idea any of this was a thing in 2012.
The party's still going on, Chance. There's even things being fulfilled now that are featured in the film. For instance, we'll see a scene with a girl with a tiger on her jacket. She's protesting like anti-nuclear, anti-war, that sort of thing. And we are now entering the year of the water tiger. So I think that even though this was from 2012, retrospectively, in hindsight, we can look back and see some of these things being fulfilled. But what did they really have? What was their workbook? What kind of notes did they have in front of them? How did they know this stuff? So that's what I'm interested to see, as well as what else is in there that we haven't yet realized.
Oh, you're mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So what I'm thinking about doing here would be, because it's not very long, it's like 7 minutes, we could play the actual video and just go scene by scene. So we'll watch like 15, 20, 30 seconds at a time till kind of there's a scene change. And then Andy has provided us with a nice slideshow of screenshots so that we can hone in on some of the aspects. And then I know that we have our own private little Telegram group chat going on about this. So as we go, just tell me if there's something in that group chat that's been forwarded there as we talk, and I'll pull that up too. So I'll do my best to facilitate all this. But what do you think? Should we kick it off and watch the first couple moments of it here?
Yeah, it's kind of built up and anticipated. There's also a website. So you did mention Heliofant, and I did forward the link there. So you can go ahead and drop that in the chat whenever you like. But that'll also have a dossier of each of the characters and a little bit of a blurb and what they're named. So after we watch it, we can go back to that and kind of look at the bios, quote unquote, of each of the characters. Not all of them get a bio, but some of them do. And I don't necessarily agree with all the bios. I'll have to say that too.
It's one of those things where the art takes on life and meaning of its own, even beyond what the creator's stated intentions are.
Yeah, like he was channeling it or something, or they rather. It was definitely not the work of one person. So I don't know if there was just somebody involved that was like highly steeped in esotericism, and they're like, man, I've been waiting for an opportunity like this. Just throw in all the spices. Yeah. Or if it was a big collective effort and they're all bringing their own spice to the party, I guess you could say.
Right.
It says Heliofant is a group, not one guy here on the website. But what is interesting is did they just exist to do this one thing? Because the website only really lists iPetGoat 2. There's a couple other films on their media page, but it seems to be all about this one thing.
Well, it makes me think of the Georgia Guidestones and how they were kind of done, right? So, sure, that probably cost a lot. Sure, there was a lot going on to make it happen, but in the end, it was just about the one thing. And what I think is interesting about the two to compare is George Bush shows up in both of these. So, George Bush's birthday is when they were demolished, right?
Right.
And the 322 ties. So.
They're putting them back together again.
Oh, Humpty Dumpty is going back together again, hey?
That's right. They got all the king's horses and all the king's men to give all the conspiracy theorists their wet dreams again.
You even rhymed it, Gabe.
That's news to me.
Just one thought before I forget it, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately. What we do when we, decode these works. I've been thinking of it as parallel to the wisdom of the crowd. in how they can put a jar full of gumballs or Skittles and get 100 people to guess how many are in the jar, and it gets fairly accurate the more people start to guess. You get 1,000 people, it gets even more accurate. And so I think that's a good metaphor for what we're doing right now. You know, we put our collective minds together and communed and, interpreted it years ago when it came out. And every year we're coming back and getting more accurate and more value out of what is, just a very interesting artistic expression. And so that's something I think is kind of, I don't know, makes sense why we get value out of these works that we do. The same thing with the Marvelous Demystifiers. These artists just put these things out, and then we bring all of our collective frames of reference together, and we get way more than the artist probably intended in the first installments.
Exactly. Because they're channeling it, Gabe.
Big time.
They're just vessels.
That's right, buddy.
Okay, here we go. We're going to start this.
Yeah.
We'll start this first part of the clip here. And let's enjoy this ride. It's like it reminds me of one of those like animatronic pirate Disney rides where there's like, robots jumping out at you
Exactly.
and you're riding on the boat through the stream.
It's horror for sure. Oh, make sure it's in high def because there is options available.
Yeah, I've got a very good. I'm all set. Here we go. Okay, we're going to stop with just that because there's slides on just that part. So the goat pops out. I mean, the goat's got a barcode on his face or on his forehead. There's a lot there. So let me get Andy's slideshow. I'm going to change how I'm screen sharing it so that we can be our faces can be up while the video is playing, but that's sort of unnecessary commentary. Yeah. So, I had to do this through Firefox today because Chrome wasn't working, so settings are a little off.
Okay.
But here we go.
You're not doing bad.
So what's your thoughts on this particular screenshot here, Andy?
All right, so when I first was doing my first decodes of it, like way back in like 2015 or whatever, I had noticed that like all the letters, like some of them are capital and some of them are lowercase, right? Like, and it doesn't even kind of make sense. Like, I guess it does, but like the O looks like a capital O, even though the rest of the like vowels, right? They're all lowercase. So like the A and the E are lowercase. So I was like, well, that reminds me of like some algebra or something. So then I got down this whole rabbit hole of like physics, and I was like, well, the color red, that must represent something, because why are some of them red and some of them are white? Like, that's kind of weird too. Like, so I found out about like these things called quarks and gluons. And so the quarks come in 3 colors, which is red, blue, and green. And then gluons, they can be like a whole range of colors. So you do notice that they change to gold, all the red ones, but the white ones stay white. And I think that meant that they were supposed to be like neutral in that equation or whatever. But I thought it was interesting because a lot of people tie this video in with CERN, especially considering the goat coming out of the black hole on the box. Which I think that box also represents like the black cube of Saturn, but obviously it's just wood, which would have its own meaning behind that. But I also looked at it this time from an alchemical perspective, would be like the red and the white, like red mercury, and then into gold, obviously very common alchemical thing. I'm not like super into alchemy, but I did look into it a bit like before for something else. So there's a couple different ways to look at it there, and it's kind of a common theme for like different forms of art and like literature to encode formulas into different types of things. So I was kind of trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, the first stages of alchemy would be like black, white, red, and yellow. It's funny because in the chat, someone was like, everyone has wrenches, and you say, we're fans of Tool. Well, there's that song Lateralis. Actually, the whole album is chemical symbolism.
Well, and that's also the stages of development psychologically for a child, that you first see those certain shades. It's only after some degree of development that you develop the ability to see other colors. And so we'll notice that as we transition from this scene to the next, they are in school.
That's a really good point. And it's interesting that there's a missing T at the beginning. It's just the pet goat, or pet goa, I should say. Makes me think of like a boa. Anyway.
And the A kind of looks like a D. So it could be like pet god.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, well, please note also
this is by Heliofant. So it's the other thing that they're referencing here is the gospel. The gospels, which are the originally the Greek word would be tragadeus or tragadois. I'm saying that, totally butchering that, but the word that we get gospel from is essentially the Greek word for goat song or goat spell. So the gospel is the God spell, the goat song. That's what tragedies are. And when we watch this, it's like definitely got tragedy vibes to it. And it is a story with this sun god character. So it seems to be the main character. So the idea that this is like initiating the whole thing with the idea of a goat. This is a goat spell. This is definitely like, this is the gospel scripture that has clearly been played off of in the last 10 years, very much so, in a programming or predictive way. And then there was a great comment from D. Zarda about the cube having 6 sides. So before the last letter flies in here, we have 3 cubes with letters on it, and then 3 cubes with letters on it. So this is like 6 times 6 times 6, which is your 216, Gabriel.
Oh man, Desiree, you're way ahead of me, bro.
I stole that from you. But when you put them together, you get 432.
Right.
2 16s are 432. So that's interesting.
Yes. So some of my observations right off the bat is, for one, we have the bellwether. It's got the bell on his neck. That is the bellwether goat. It's the lead goat. It's telling you follow along closely. It's also saying that the events to come will follow what is about to be the path that is about to be laid. So the bellwether goat is a good thing to understand psychologically, considering there are people in this world who consider us animals.
But the bellwether is castrated. That's an important thing to note.
That's right. Which means all the goats who follow the bellwether, all that they can see is the scar on the lead goat. They're all focusing on the castration scar, which very much makes me think about Saturn sitting at the North Pole, being castrated, and we are following that northern alignment, that axial alignment. The goat has 3 heads. While it's moving around, there are 3 heads. That's cubed. We're going to see a lot of cubalistic information, and all of the letters are in cubes.
And he's in a cube, yeah. And also that has the feeling of like hypnosis or psychedelia or trance.
Nice.
The way
Yeah.
that they had it. We'll watch that first couple seconds again.
Very Saturnian. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Mowgli scene from Jungle Book where the snake is hypnotizing him.
Good call.
Oh yeah.
Some type of hypnotic effect. I mean, when the scene opens, I just noticed this today when I watched it in high def. But it opens with a door. The barbed wire is tethered to a doorknob, and I thought that was a really weird way to open it, because it didn't really seem to fit. So I was trying to think of what that was symbolic of, and I really wasn't sure. But you also see some graffiti on the cube itself, and it's an authoritarian figure with a dog that says bark, or wolf rather, actually, and he's holding a pistol. So there's probably a lot to unpack there, but that's the opening scene. It's like this concentration camp style environment that happens to have a school in the camp.
Neil just posted in the Vibe Rant Telegram channel that he went over to the original post of the video, and it's got 11,000 comments exactly as we're looking at it. And even the II of IPEC Goat 2 is kind of like an 11. And then the other thing that I found interesting just about the way it's titled is how like the I is separated from the pet goat by a comma, and a comma is also like phonetically a coma. And this entire time, like the I or the self or the inner light or the Christos is asleep as it's going through this petting zoo, you could call it. So I find that interesting too. The I is separate from the other part of this by the comma coma.
So I just did the gematria on iPet Goat, and now that I've found the match function on the gematrinator, I'm already right off the top. I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm looking at it in 9 different ciphers, which is a lot to find matches in that many ciphers is makes it a little more powerful, a little more compelling. But I got to read to you guys a couple right off the top here without getting lost in the sauce, which is exactly what the match button will do to you. It'll take your whole day away from you if you mess with the match button too long. But listen to these. This is nuts. And I shared it in the Telegram if anybody wants to, or just do your own.
I would pull it up. It's just a little blurry.
It is kind of small. Guys, this is crazy. Okay, colored AZ family, which is Azazel. The second goat is sacrificed off the cliff to Azazel. So AZ family, testicle, I am wrath, Schumann, R.R. Duncan, FedEx Way, Peron Klub. I don't know what that is. Sorry. I'll try to hit the good ones here, but I found
REM sleep is a really good one.
What's that?
REM sleep, REM sleep.
Whoa. Marijuana. Foretell.
Another thing we got to point out, Gabriel, too, that this in English ordinal is a 93.
Yep.
So we have that like thelema number. In full reduction, it's a 39. In single reduction, it's a 39. And actually, in 4 of the ciphers here, you have it's a 39, which is just the 93 reversed. And in Francis Bacon gematria, it's 119, which is 911. Wait, no, I'm sorry. That's not a match. Okay. It's different. 33 in Chaldean. And Lucas pointed out that in the septenary gematria, which I think is, if you're going to just use one, that's the one to do for English, that if you make the I of IPEC Goat a 1, like a Roman numeral I, then it's pet goat is 32. So that I 1 is a 33. Illuminati confirmed.
Illuminati confirmed. I got Nazareth, Megatron, RD Temple. There's so much. So let's put it this way so we don't get lost in the sauce. People should go and get on Gematrinator, put in iPet Goat, and just go down this list because there's a lot of, there's a lot of matches, very powerful matches. Even 37 in septenary, that's a powerful one. Going back to what we did with Lucas, with L.C. King on that episode. 37 was like a keystone number. Very powerful stuff. Also, there's 3 words. I, pet, goat is 3 words, cubalistic. And I already made an anagram right off the top of my head. Pi, P-I, get, G-E-T, T-A-O, tau. And pi and tau are strongly associated mathematically. Tau is twice pi. And that's also the ancient one. T-A-O is the ancient one. And it's also 216, tax, T-A-X. T-A-O is 216. High magic's in that little series of words.
Can somebody explain why 93 is the greeting for Thelema? I know that it is, but I don't know exactly how it's derived, because I know 418 is associated with Babylon, but why is 93 important?
Well, I do know that they are hailing back to the Rosicrucians. They are not one and the same, but there is a lineage in secret societies to hail to the elders, to the source of the mathematical knowledge. So it goes from whatever group you're in modern days. They're just proving their roots back to the Rosicrucians, and the Rosicrucians prove their roots back to the Pythagoreans.
Oh, okay. So it's like a pedigree.
Bingo. Great word. Great. That's a great word to describe it. Yep. Yeah, it's an R and a C. 9 and 3 is an R and a C.
Well, that's R.C. Christian was the Guidestones guy. Yeah,
right.
I feel you, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. One thing that I find pleasure in is just proving the consistency of these secret societies going back to ancient times. Because people think, oh, secret societies, that's just fraternal orders doing circle jerks on cookies. No, these guys go all the way back, consistent. The more consistent, the more ancient, the more powerful.
Either that, or there actually is a Heliofant.
Indeed.
Or some of both. Like, I've been wondering a lot lately because I keep noticing more modern words and phrases that they had to have emerged organically that can like fit this language code from the ancient world still consistently. And the synchronicities that emerge in your own observation of these things as you get into syncretism makes me think that maybe, like, what if the whole point of the priesthoods and secret societies originally wasn't so much about trying to like cast their spells onto the public, but that they're getting together and doing what we do and just trying to find the logos emergent in natural systems and human interaction, because it appears to be there.
Every group has a Crowley. And then you get a group of Crowleys. And that's what we're looking at. It looks like.
All right,
I wanted to mention one more detail about the goat here that I didn't notice till today. So it does have a barcode on its forehead, like you mentioned, but it actually has a 666. So when I looked at it in high def, there for a moment, you are able to see that. Now, again, this was produced in 2012, so sure, people might want to say, oh, well, the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Well, 666 is only mentioned in one verse, and that's Revelation 13, 16, 18. So Revelation 13, 16 through 18, rather. So if you look really closely, you'll see the 666 in the middle brow there between the goat's eyes. So, 2012 was prior
on the third eye.
A lot of these things. Yeah, exactly. And so we'll see a character here later named Draco who has one eye. And in the Bible, in Zechariah 11:17, it talks about the mark of an idle shepherd being in one eye and having a withered right arm. So we'll see that kind of crop back up as well. But yeah, man, didn't want to skip over that because that's pretty blatant.
I just want to point out right here, since you're paused, there's Feu right in the corner there of the Saturn's cube is what I think it is. So definitely
So
some.
Good
Oh, the
catch.
rune. The rune.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Also,
And
Okay.
Saturn is a cube, right? So
also the lights above are like 3 by 3, and that the magical square of Saturn is a 3 by 3 magical square.
Mario says here all barcodes in code 666. Do you mean like all barcodes everywhere all the time, or just in this film? Because there's a lot of barcodes actually.
I think it's the middle, the beginning, middle, and end specifically code to 6. So the numbers in between could be different, but the 3 bars in the beginning, middle, and end happen to also be 666, I think.
Yeah,
And here's
bar. So bar
Bar-
is an ancient name for Saturn. That's why you have the bar association and all that with the judges and the lawyers or attorneys. But also bar is a more ancient word for both corn and son, like your offspring, a son, and like a seed. So like whenever they called Jesus in the more apocryphal texts, Jesus bar panther, they're saying son of bar panther's son of panther.
Interesting. Well, what's the goat behind there, Chance? Barbed wire.
Barbed wire. And then when we
Ah.
see the Jesus character, he has barbed wire wrapped around his head,
Indeed, he does.
covering
His
the
crown
third
chakra,
eye as
yeah.
well, just like the barcode on the third eye of the goat. And of course, Jesus is the ram or the lamb, and a goat and a ram have a lot in common, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed.
Yeah, I didn't know that about barcodes, but I probably noticed that before, and I was just like, no, it can't be. I'm
Oh,
looking
did
at
you
the,
mention-
looking at the sticker on the bottom of my mug, like, there's no numbers on the barcode.
I know I was late, but did you mention that this was the 1 year Vibe Rant anniversary?
Yeah, I did. Happy birthday,
sorry.
Vibe Rant.
Well, just in case you didn't, I wanted to make sure you did. Sorry for being late again. And yes, kids
You were
are
right.
baby
A
goats.
wizard is never late, buddy.
Well,
Arrive precisely when you meant to.
meow. Yeah, I was at trivia night with dinner.
So should we progress a little forward here? We could
Yeah,
see
the
there
clock-
the hypnotic goat.
The classroom comes up next, and this is why it's named I Pet Goat, is because of this classroom scene that actually harkens back to the scene of George Bush reading I Pet Goat to a classroom full of children. So
Oh yeah, the book was literally called I Pet Goat. What a weird
Yeah.
ass name for a children book.
I just
So
noticed
that's where-
2 smokestacks in the background here.
yeah, good catch, because those get destroyed later, I think.
Well, 18 seconds in and
I know, dude, right? And 18
There's-
is 666, 6 plus 6 plus 6. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's Illuminati confirmed.
There's
All right,
one more
let's,
thing
go
before
ahead.
the classroom that I want to touch on. It's just right before the classroom, but I just want to kind of explain that part. But it's in the slides.
There is one more thing on this image. We've got a man being pulled by his dog, which is probably, I've heard before people say that's a wag the dog implication there.
Well, and notice also the concertina wire is bent inward. That's to keep the goat and all other occupants in, not out.
Right. Probably.
So it is indeed a concentration camp.
Yes. And even, that's what people always used to say about the border wall is like, oh, you think that's to keep people out? Just wait till they flip the script, and that's going to be keeping everybody in.
And the comments are just really good right now too. There was nothing we wanted to say about before the goat pops out, right? We have this scratched in man walking it looks like it's actually like a shark. Actually, it's a shark with legs. If I had to guess what it is, maybe it's a dog. I don't know.
Freaking shark with a freaking laser beam.
Something like that. Okay, we'll move forward here. So notice these hands holding the puppet strings, marionette strings specifically.
Yeah.
He has the money ring on his like marriage ring finger.
That's
the left.
also
Yeah.
a snake. It's a snake, by the way. Yeah.
Let's.
And I have a slide on that too.
Yeah, thank
So,
you. That's easier than me
yeah.
trying to pause it here. Let me pull
You
that.
were
Looks like
paused
there's
right
a-
at the right spot though. Oh, there we
Looks
go.
like
Yeah,
there's
so
2 rings.
Yeah, what's this bleeding thing
So
on
that's a
his right
scarab,
index finger?
I think. It looks like a scarab to me. It's kind of crude looking, but yeah. So I did some digging on like ring placements, and so hold on, let me get my notes quick. The left hand is for receiving. So on the money hand is that they're receiving money or gold for what they're giving out is the killing of or the bloodshed of the scarab, and then also which would be, I translate it to the death of Ra, and then the middle finger is also covered in blood, and it looks like a 71. I just found that interesting. I don't know if that really means anything.
Oh, nice catch.
But yeah, the middle finger represents Jupiter, so that's also can be with like career and stuff. So if I'm thinking right, then Jupiter is like career and stuff like that, and relate like outer world relationships.
Reputation. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meridian system of our body, the ring finger connects to the triple warmer, which is like the bag or the sack that holds the rest of the organs in. So it's kind of funny that on the finger representing money or the serpent as well is like the part of your organ system that is the bag holding everything else, like a bag of goods. And
Money
then on
bags.
the index finger, that relates to your large intestine. So it's very like root, digestive, fire type Dantian energy. And it's interesting that, yeah, you have this blood red coming off of that finger. And then the middle finger in the meridian system is the lungs.
Okay, I got a lot just occurred to me, and I have a whole lot just occurred to me. This is, whoo, all right. Let me try to get it all concise and. Oh my God! Somebody's talking about because. Who is this? Who is this? Oh, good point. Yep. Definitely placenta, the tethers, the connection. Okay. There's so much in my mind right now. Okay. 22. Notice that he's got 22. He's showing the 22 with his fingers here, right? 22nd prime number. Thank you, Marty Leeds. I just learned this last weekend.
And the hands appear 20 seconds into, like 22 seconds into it. I'm not sure exactly, but let me just double check. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. 22 seconds in is when they appear.
Okay, check this out. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty freaking sure I've got this figured out. 22nd prime number is 79. 79 is the atomic number for gold. And just recently, I learned an alchemical procedure that relates to converting cinnabar into gold. So we have the red mercury on one hand, we have the cross, the crucible, the transitional space, and we have the gold on the other hand. And it's signaling the 22, which in the list of primes hails to 79, the atomic number for gold. And
at 22 seconds it appears, just to for sure verify what you're saying.
Right. And the letters come in the color of gold. So these guys know this alchemical process for sure.
Yeah. And then they're no longer cubes. They're just the two-dimensional squares.
Which makes sense because after the cut, then the entire story gets translated onto the paper, on paper C. Which, by the way, this is kind of obvious now that I reflect on it, but we talk about how like the papacy rules the paper C, the papal C, it's called. And that damn LR switch in languages, man, papal is paper. They on it. Okay, let's play. See if we can get ourselves to a little
Mention one
further.
thing there.
Oh yeah, sure, Josh.
I just, although we haven't seen his face yet, those were the hands of the Draco character that we'll see later. So if you notice, his hands were covered with scales. So he's also wearing the serpentine ring. So he's married to the world, has money and material wealth as his domain. Like Andy was saying, given this dowry for this work. So the left hand does the dirty work, the right hand gets the riches, like a whirling dervish takes in the blessings from the right, dispenses them from the left, etc. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in. And of course the X can also represent your analemma, or your time of crossing, because later when we see the little girl sitting in the middle of the circle with the 12 figures around her that represent the Zodiac, in my opinion, we're also seeing some emphasis put on certain times of the year. So we can talk more about that later, but that could also be kind of a oblique reference to like the North Pole and the crossing, like Gabe was kind of talking about the North. So anyway, I'm done with that. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, that's great. I just
like whose eye is watching us?
I've actually made a mistake in previous shows where I've mentioned that it's Hydra who is circling around the North Pole, and Hydra is in that vicinity, but I meant to say Draco. It's actually Draco that I was thinking about. So that confirms what you were saying, Joshua. It is Draco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel you, man. They're related species.
Another interesting thing about the whole serpent deal here is that, since we're talking, this is cubalism, right? We can't leave out the Hebrew aspect of things. And the word for serpent in Hebrew is nakash.
Yes.
And this word signifies more than just snake, depending on context. It could mean to view or observe intently. So that's like watcher. This reflects in so many languages, like in Greek, the word Draco refers to like a flash of light, or also to watch or to glare. So that's like watching, but with malintent. And to continue on the whole like nakash weave, other words mean to divine, as in like to prophesy. And this whole thing is very divinatory or programmatory, whatever you want to say. It could mean to use enchantments. It could refer to chains or fetters. And what is this serpent character doing? It's not chains, but
he's fettered. Yeah.
He's fettering the George W. Bush puppet.
Yeah, they're possessed by him. They've made the deal with the devil. When you said flash, like a lightning, Obama shows up in this, and his name, Barack Obama. Barack is another word for lightning as well. So it's so interesting. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I know we're not even a minute into this. I'm done, man.
We'll do what we got to do. This is really fun. I know the people out there are getting a kick out of it. I bet that this will end up being the best decode of iPet Go 2 on the whole internet.
Word.
No doubt.
I've seen a lot of them that just don't cut the mustard, so I'm really glad to finally be a part of one.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play. I was just thinking more about Nakash. Like, it's been a while since I read Pierre Sabak, but if I pulled up this book behind me, The Murder of Reality, about the Brotherhood of the Snake, I'm sure I could find all kinds of other languages where the words for reptiles and snakes and serpents also refer to watching and observing. So even like seraphim.
Yeah, that was their order, seraphim. Correct. The winged serpents. That's what America means, land of the plumed serpents.
Damn. All right, let's play a little more. Oh yeah, okay. NDB 820 says the dollar sign is kind of like the serpent on the rod Moses made.
Exactly.
Okay, so that brass serpent on the rod is the epitome of the Nakash because it symbolized the serpent. One of the words for meanings for Nakash is brass. So it's also like enchanted or enchants people. There's so much to it. So yeah.
And there's something to keep in mind there is that the reasons so that serpent raised up on that staff fixed to it, it was fixed to the cross. That's very alchemical sounding and phonetically.
Which is what, that's what the brass serpent is. It's like on a pike or a pole.
And it was raised as a symbol of salvation. So this was pre-Jesus. And this was because the people had sinned and they went after the golden calf. You know, they kept whoring after other gods. So that what we consider angels, quote unquote, the ones that are tasked with keeping the law, essentially, they were just plaguing the people like serpents. They were feathered serpents plaguing the people and biting them and stuff. And the people were freaking out and begging for mercy. And they begged Moses to create, and he talked to God, and God's like, all right, do this with a serpent on a pole. And if they look at it and believe, they'll be saved. So is that like a reference to the raising of the Kundalini? You know, and also the left hand is symbolic of venom of God, which these serpents were basically plaguing the people for their sinfulness, right? So yeah, there's a lot to that, man. But then also Christ himself refers to this in John when he says that the Son of Man has to be raised up like the serpent in the wilderness for the salvation of all humankind. So it's not a bad thing. It's something to study.
Absolutely. And actually, like Salvator is a word for a serpent.
Exactly.
And is also where we get salvation.
Exactly.
There's a lot to that.
Yeah, man. It's funny, Josh, that we're talking about this because I have been deeply meditating on that particular story today. And
that's good, man.
Yes, there's a
just
lot.
Ruminate on the word like a goat.
Yeah, man. Yeah. There's a lot of value to it. I've been thinking about it as like in the context of modern day that, like people get so attached to the medical system that there's a dependency and they start wondering, why are so many people unhealthy? Why are so many people dying? And then Moses has to hold the symbol of the medical industry in their face and make them stare at it. And then
it's also
the
World Health Organization insignia, mind you.
Until it dawns on them like, we did this to our fucking selves. And it's
overcome the serpent.
Because of the medical industrial complex. Yeah, it's a very valuable lesson. And then they actually go on to worship it too much even after that. Even after they realize it. So it's like a cure for denial is to admit and perceive what is ailing you. But then they continue to attach to it to excess. And I think there's
also the concept of removing the scales from your eyes, which of course serpents have scales. And
nice,
of course,
nice.
Dan, tribe of Dan, which means judge, is associated with the serpent, and also scales of judgment. So I'm riffed on that too much, but that's in the time of the fall, Virgo.
Yeah, okay. We're in the weeds, but I'll just throw in one more thing on the whole snake dragon weave here, Draco weave. Dagon, right? We've heard of Dagon. It's a name associated with the fish deity, associated with Saturn. Dagon, Dag, D-A-G. Read that backwards like Hebrew. It's Gad. Gad is Ad. Ad is Buddha. Gad is God. Gad is basically
Gad
goat.
was one of the 12 tribes.
Yeah, so Dagon is Gad on, or the god on. On is the sun. Okay, I'm gonna get us to tap dancing George Bush here. Okay, let's do it. Okay, good place to pause here. There's so much just in the background here. It's ridiculous. I'll pull up Andy's slides here. Kind of a little bit dark for whatever reason when I share things through StreamYard, but I'll just point out what I noticed right away that are kind of obvious. got a house on fire. The house is on fire. We got a lightning bolt schisming the left and right, the masculine and feminine, dividing the mind and the brain. And we got a dragon right here. All of that. And a checkerboard floor too.
Yeah, so when I first was my first go around at this decode or whatever, which is just for myself for fun, I was trying to figure out like who this lady could be, because I had not seen the full video of him like reading the book, which she does look a lot like the lady from there, but it also to me looks like Kamala Harris if she like had a little bit too much McDonald's. And it once it gets close to her face, you'll kind of see that more because she has the light eyes and everything. And at the time, they were kind of pushing her for the next instead of Biden or whatever. So, yeah.
May I?
And he's in a star here.
Yeah, I was just going to say Draco makes him the star. The dragon gives
D on his head.
He gives the power to his servants. We read about this in Revelation as well, with the beast being given the power from the dragon. And we see the dragon in the background. Somebody mentioned earlier the two hands represent like the hemispheres of the brain. And I mentioned to them how that would come up again later. So in the background, prior to him tap dancing out in front, you'll see there's a brain back there with a lightning bolt between the two hemispheres and a dragon sitting beside it. There might even be another something behind Bush on the other side of the brain, but I can't recall.
Yeah, there is. There's a little type of equation thing.
Oh, yeah, the F scale.
Yeah.
So just a quick riff on the D in the cone. That is, so D is 4. The cone is a triangle. That's 3. That's the quadrivium and the trivium. It's also DC. And it's also, if you reverse the word cone, you get Enoch. And I'm quite sure he's insinuating that he knows the language, the Enochian keys. He's savvy to all of the wisdom of John D with that dunce cap.
There's also the D chord, which is the devil's note. Yeah,
Nice.
There's nothing really good associated with with that, from what I can tell. The dunce hat is what, like the jester, fool. Cheney pointed out hanged man because they're playing hangman on the chalkboard as well.
So I'll throw in a couple things about the POTUS with the dunce hat. This is good, real good gravy from Dylan Sicocio's 4th book, A God's Acre for Winds of the Soul. He points out that in Latin, POTUS means to drink, but in pertinence to being drunk, right? Like the POTUS here, who is clearly drunk on something, maybe drunk on the illusion of power. And interesting too, he's prancing about, right? Another word in Latin, pransus, means to overconsume in reference to drinking and being drunk. So the POTUS is pransus, drunk on his own power. And then he points out later in the book about the word dunce is actually a reference to a group of clergymen or theologians, really, that were trained by the cloister back in like a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure where, but they actually coined a lot of words that we use currently. And he lists a few of the words that they're called the schoolmen coined: real, virtual, entity, non-entity, equivocation, objective, subjective. Think about those words coined by the schoolman whose most prominent teachers was a man named John Duns Scotus, like spelled exactly like the acronym for Supreme Court of the United States. And the basically it says here that he was called John Duns. So the word Duns, which gave way to dunce, was used as an expression of those of the new learning style to use it against those of the old language style, basically. So I find that interesting, that the dunce connects us to SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. I don't know, but definitely the POTUS is Prancis, and he appears to be drunk or intoxicated. That may be one of those things that is just synchro mystic logos coming through. I don't know. Maybe they knew Latin and they knew the Prancis POTUS was needed to seem drunk for it to all resonate.
So, oh man, there's so much right there that you just laid down. So I gotta share. This is a Dylan Sicosio original. The connection of SCOTUS and the Scottish rite of Freemasonry. So that word SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, is flaunting and everybody dancing in front of everybody's face in mockery that it is, secret societies all the way to the tippy top. And then another thing about Duns is Dun and Bradstreet. That's where all the social securities, that's where corporate personhood is all nested. It's nested at the tippy top. There's a lot of gravy on that. I got to tell you guys about my dream here in a second. I'm going to wait till we get to the next couple minutes, but I had a dream that was totally inspired by this project we've been doing.
So
Nice.
we also see on here, besides the owl and, you got to have a penis drawn on the chalkboard and a shark. Not sure what the shark is about yet, but I feel like the shark showed up earlier. Anyway, there is a map in the back. I'm seeing the Oklahoma City bombing. I'm seeing 9/11. I'm seeing Hurricane Katrina. I'm seeing the Haiti crisis.
Deepwater Horizon, potentially.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a little bit closer to that.
Now, all these things preceded.
And New York's not yet happened. Of course, they're doing drills and infomercials about what to do in the event of a nuclear explosion. So,
well, unless you count New York on there as being the 9/11 event.
Well, that's possible too. We'd have to look at it really close to see exactly where that pin's at.
Looks like New York to me, if I had to guess.
But I'd say it's going to be a dirty bomb type of scenario, or one of the tidal wave type nuclear explosions under the sea. It'll be something like that, probably. Blame it on Russia.
Nukes are fake and gay.
Well, whatever.
We got 3, but they want to scare everyone into nukes. I also want to point out the 3 hearts here. That's like the 3 of hearts and tarot, which everybody interprets as heartbreak, but in like a more serious esoteric analysis of 3 of hearts, I would call it like some kind of challenge or adversity to overcome. That doesn't
it have a heart with? Is that the heart with the swords in it?
Yeah, in the Rider Way, it's the heart with 3 swords going through it.
Yeah, but then they have a real heart beneath the board. So I find that's the only one that's real in this whole video.
Yeah, good.
And showing the red and blue of the heart, which the heart does do that. Part of it is pumping blue blood and part is pumping red blood as it's receiving unoxygenated blood and pumping out oxygenated blood.
Nice. So I want to point, while we're talking about oxygenated and unoxygenated, the missing letters are IOU. This word is in debt. It's in debt. It's missing. It's absent. It has 3 voids, and those 3 letters missing are I, O, and U. Definitely a lot of fiat currency encoded into that absence of information.
They're all vowels too.
And Io is a name for the solar deity, Io, and so is you. You could also pronounce it as you. So you, ya, I owe you. Who do we owe? Good question.
I like that point about the twins. Every birth is there are two things born in every birth, baby and placenta. That's pretty good weave right there.
Something that more visible now is the F equals negative F. Andy and I were talking about this, and that can mean like she was talking about in physics, it can mean vectors. And also I found something about a personality test known as the F scale that determines the probability that somebody would become a fascist dictator or whatever. So the two people we have sitting in front of this are Bush and Obama, and behind them we have the representation of the F scale or fascist scale. And how I learned about that was by getting into Radio Free Albemuth by Philip K. Dick, because that movie, or the book turned movie, was all about totalitarianism and resisting it, etc. So that's how I ran across the F scale, but pretty interesting because the tyrants are given their authority from the dragon. Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
Oh, one more thing about the F equals negative F. Well, a couple more things. So with the physics aspect being involved, the capital F means force. And then the vector is like space. So it's Space Force. That's weird. Okay.
Good one, Andy.
And then, but I was thinking like, the real force is no force. Like, just make everybody choose it for themselves. But also Stacy Sunshine shared a couple weeks ago something about Schedule F, which was something that was supposed to go through under the Trump administration, but then didn't. And it would have changed because there's this like alleged secret fourth branch that's like all the administrative work or whatever. And it never went through to like kind of cancel out some of their power. So that could have something to do with that. Yeah. And then I did want to say on the green dragon thing, with where it is on the brain, I looked up both a phrenology thing and an actual brain map, and it's showing. So it's showing on the right side, which would be the male side, and it, on the phrenology map, it's in the hopes and dreams kind of section, and then in the actual brain map, it's in the memory section. So
I'd go with phrenology on that one because memories are not stored in the brain. Although I guess the capacity to recall memories may have some neurological function, but that's a good one. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. That's all I got on that.
The clock is at midnight. We have evolution up here. Just reminding everybody your monkey's an uncle, and your uncle's a monkey, and before that he was a fish, apparently. Often you don't see this whole like classic trope of ape erecting to man with a fish before it. So the fish, I feel like that's pretty relevant. And then pointed out in the chat, somebody caught that the EVO in the hangman is lowercase and the rest is uppercase. I think that is clear, referring to the inversion of love being evil.
Well, and love is right there too with the hearts. So yeah, there's interesting.
Yeah, and another fascinating thing is the tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He, another way of transliterating it into English letters aside from the traditional YHVH. It could also be transliterated as EVEL or EVE. So, like there's a lot there. I won't hang us up on that, but
that could be an abbreviation for AI, Asher AI, or something like that, which is I am that I am, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and we haven't even pointed out that George Bush literally, did we point out George Bush literally read a book
Yeah,
about the pet
that's how
goat too, on
this got
9/11.
its title. If you look at the top there, it looks like the last part of this evolution has been taped there. I just wanted to point that out because to me it didn't make any sense why you'd go through the effort of adding a piece of scotch tape there. So it had to be somewhat symbolic. And it looks like the monkey, quote unquote monkey, Pryor is holding a firearm. And then this one, he gets the corona or halo that you kind of see in the old paintings, you know. So it's almost like this forced evolution.
Yeah, and it's
You were
got
talking
9
about
rays.
the force vector. And so it's like forced evolution.
I wonder if the
Oh.
tape is a monolith, like a 2010 monolith.
Or Scotch, or, you know, maybe that's
Scottish.
Yeah,
A Scottish rite
there. Yeah,
of passage.
Now,
Nice.
before we got off the shark scene, remember, traditionally all VACCINEs are all provided squalene by sharks, but this particular COV, VACCINE, was the squalene was procured exclusively from hybrid pythons in Florida. So for the first time ever, all over the world, everybody's getting doses of python in them instead of shark. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out, is that I don't know what else shark could mean, but you know, there you go.
Sharks are also a type of Russian submarine.
Oh.
There's that.
Well, might be what causes the incident off the coast of New York, because they have what they call the Poseidon, which is allegedly a nuclear device that could cause a tsunami under the water and take out cities. So yeah, maybe the shark launches the Poseidon.
Yeah, and the shark is also just like the most primal, ruthless predator you can imagine.
It's like the vulture of the sea. It has its role. And
they say about sharks that I don't know if this is true, but that a shark never stops moving.
Correct.
And that is interesting too, because what do you need to attain some sort of spiritual insight or connectivity to source? You got to find stillness within. And the shark is kind of like the opposite of that symbolically.
Okay, I got a stretch on the shark. The most famous cartoon shark is named Jabberjaw. Jabberjaw is the famous cartoon.
The jibby jab.
There's a jab.
Nice catch.
Implied in the
squalene
shark.
Squalene is the adjuvant that's added, by the way, to turn on your immune system, to like say intruder alert, come and check this out and create antibodies for it. That's its task. Also, there's snowflakes down at the bottom. So before we get off that slide, we keep hearing about dark winter, which is also a big theme we see in the game. It's a video game franchise known as The Division. They quite literally talk about dark winter in the game, and that's the exercise that they are running, and they overthrow the government and all this, and it's like apocalypse basically occurred, or Armageddon rather. And the Division are the people that arise up out of the ashes and like reform the United States government and stuff. So it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes is the Division. Sunseed was talking about the division of the goats and the lambs earlier, so that kind of came to mind as well. But it's strikingly similar to the kinds of rhetoric we hear nowadays, because even Biden himself was talking about a dark winter before this winter, although now that we're seeing the food shortages and fuel shortages, I would suspect that this winter might be a darker winter, at least. Yeah.
I'm really wondering about, obviously we know that this is like traditionally said to be the devil horns or whatever, or the goat horns, the hand symbol that old W is doing here. But I wonder if anybody has any gravy on like mudras that relates to.
That is a ward for evil. It's the devil horns to ward off evil.
Because I know like in This mudra with the thumb actually covering the fingertips relates to disintegration. Disintegrating, like in a clearing, releasing things that don't serve type of way. So wonder with the thumb out, what the difference is energetically.
That's the correct way to do like the devil horns, according to Ronnie James Dio. He used to get really passionate about that. Like, don't do it the other way, because that's like, I think he said something about like that's bringing it to you, and not actually. It was like because his family was like Italian or something, and that's like an Italian thing to ward off the devil with that mudra. So.
Not today, Satan.
Yeah. maybe tomorrow.
I don't know. That's a good thing to ponder. All right, I'm going to hit up. We're going to see the next puppet president come onto the scene.
Whose name means lightning.
Wearing the cube head.
And then he winks at Kamala Harris.
And we see on the, I guess this would be the, what do they call it? Where they have the words and teleprompter. On his teleprompter, he's got the LOL.
Teleprompter there, nice catch.
And Obama was definitely like a famous teleprompter talker, right?
Oh yeah.
It's time to laugh. It's your cue.
Can I tell you guys? Can I tell you guys my dream now, real quick?
LOL in septenary, by the way, is 222.
It's also 101 Saturn.
So that gives us another 6 as well with the 222.
His apartment number was 101.
He's got a touchless death, white gloves. That's right, Cheney. He's wearing the white gloves.
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys my dream very quickly. It was, I think, 2 nights ago. I was dreaming that I was sleeping, and Barack Obama was hovering over my bed.
Uh-oh.
That's horrible.
It was crazy. And it was very lucid. And I tried to ignore him. I tried to go back to sleep in my dream. And he stayed there. He refused to go anywhere. And he was talking as though he was like giving a speech or practicing a speech, and trying to wake me up by being obnoxious. So eventually I just in my dream woke up and was like, all right, what do you want here? And it was all very body language oriented. It was all nonverbal cues. And so he and I proceeded to make my bed together. And again, it was all nonverbal, and like, you know how you got to coordinate with somebody else and like choose which blanket goes first. It's very weird, very, very weird. But eventually, and I was being very coy and not giving him the energy of being impressed by his presence, you know, which I could tell he wanted me. He was used to people fawning over him. And
You're both like, Leos, Gabe.
I know.
So you're not conceding to, you're like, I got a better looking mane, dog.
Yeah, man.
You earn my respect.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth to this significance of this dream, a whole lot. So eventually we made the bed, and he says, can I tell you a story? And this is where the dream becomes very verbal, direct, like explicitly verbal. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll listen to your story, Barack. And so he goes on to tell me. Barack, yep. AK, rabbi with an AK. So, is that me? Okay. So then he tells me a story. He says, I was in the tropics at some island, I forget where, and I came upon a homeless fella, and I handed him over a good wad of cash. And just before he tried to walk away with the cash, I caught him up and I said, excuse me, what do you plan to do in exchange for the gift that I just gave you? and he says, "Do you know what that homeless? He was actually homeless and disabled." And I was like, "No." He says, "Do you know what he did for the cash that I gave him?" I was like, "No." "What did he do, Barack?" And Barack looks around my room, and I have these capoeira instruments. They're called a berimbau. People call it the one-stringed Brazilian banjo. He reaches over by my capoeira birimbaus, and he reaches in and he pulls out 2 crutches. And then he proceeds to do like a tap dance with the crutches. And he demonstrates this crippled homeless fella's dance that he did for the cash money. But the weirdest thing was the sound from the tap dance that he did was berimbau music. He started making berimbau rhythms with the crutches, and it just blew me away. It really impacted me because there's a lot of mythology in capoeira that was invoked from this experience, from this theatrical display. So yeah, Barack Obama came to me in my dreams, and I took it as a powerful sign. Like there's a lot more to it than just that that goes into capoeira mythology. So the point is, I woke up immediately and I cleaned the fuck out of my room. I organized my life. I was strongly inspired to get a lot of shit in order, and then went on to do a real heavy capoeira workout that day. But yeah, and I think a lot of it was inspired by this project and the fact that his birthday is one day before mine.
So I pulled up this shot because Ginny B in the Vibe Rant call-in line gave us this direct screenshot. Very easy moment to miss because it's just for like 1 frame. But the LOL, ELOL, she points out that's an internet acronym for evil laugh out loud, which is definitely what Barack is doing here. Not to take away the thunder from that dream. I just don't even know what to say about it. Too wild. Good share. Yeah, this is interesting too. That Cucumber points out that Crip walks are tippy, and Obama's got a tippy walk in this. He's very Crip. And then another commenter says, "I have a hypothesis that most gang culture is inspired by the occult and esoteric." I think so. Here, let's just put it this way: what do gangs or mafias, secret societies, and a priest class and intelligence agencies all have in common?
CIA.
Their primary operating procedure is deceit.
That's it, man.
All of them. So of course they're gonna borrow, steal, collaborate with each other, all of the above.
Nailed it.
And at the roots, they are the same thing.
Somebody, I forget who it was, that brought up the fact that many of the pets of past presidents are actually encoding the names of drug lords. And right there is that's a serious weave that somebody needs to build out. But there is so much to that. There's so much to that the names.
Didn't Biden get rid of his dog?
What's that?
And replaced it. Biden got rid of his dog and replaced it. So I wonder what that means. Need to get a new drug dealer?
I wonder if it has to do with the step out of Afghanistan and the handing over of a baton.
No more hopium.
Yeah, interesting.
Wouldn't be able to talk about Obama without this photo.
What the fuck?
I don't remember who that guy is on the left, but that's clearly a moon.
Is that how he looked in your dream game?
No, but my mind is blown by this. Look at he's got the panties on his face. It's just like how old is this picture?
Or a Corona mask.
It's pre-cooties.
It's after. It's like maybe 2013-ish.
Who's that Vato behind him, man? That guy
I can't
looks...
remember who that guy is. But it's known, and you can find it. I've read it before.
Dang, man.
He's trying to represent the high priestess right there, in my opinion.
Yep, he's got the TOR, the team of rivals.
Mm-hmm. So
man, this is a really good comment from Eblis. Bloods and Crips come from Black Panthers who themselves were Bull Prince Hall Masons. Yeah.
Yes. The Boule, I think is how that's pronounced. Yes.
A knight of Pythagoras.
I thought it might have just been a typo of Bull, because Bull is where we get the word bull as well. A bull is a word referring to a council, but like a hidden secret council.
Yeah.
Hence
Nice.
the papal bulls.
Nice.
Bull, B-O-U-L-E.
So we've associated
twice about Christian Bale, because the Christian bull is the papal bull.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's another Spirit World Book 4 piece of gravy. There's so much gravy in that book.
We were on the flow state a few months ago, and we associated the Boule Society with the fact that Jar Jar Binks might actually be a secret Sith Lord, and I freaking think that's a really fun weave to consider as well.
Watch him transform again. We have a lot to go. Might have to move faster.
Yeah.
Now is a good time.
Agreed.
Maybe go back to the girl sitting there. I'll just mention a couple things real quick.
Yeah, it's in the slides.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you had slides. I haven't looked at them yet.
Yeah, we're going to use both. So this is a perfect slide. How many figures are around her? Is it 12?
Correct. And one of them's joined, which looks like Gemini. So I think if you look at it as zodiacally, they also represent the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 months of the year. You got the bride of Christ sitting in the middle.
All their heads are egg-shaped, and there's a bunny behind her too.
Well, and if you look closely on the right side of the wall, there's a lily. So that's the spring. Then you got the buck moon, which is in July. That's the rabbit. That's when animals start to get their horns. And then you'll see the buck deer on the left, which has horns. So that's the fall. And then there's another thing on the right, or the further left, but I'm not really sure what that is. But anyway, whenever the lights go out, light accents not the lily. So we're past spring. It's emphasizing July, I think, the buck rabbit, and also the exit door in the back, and then the buck deer on the left, and of course the bride of Christ in the middle, which is like the union of the 12. In my opinion, I think the exit door represents some type of like rapture type scenario where there's a mass exodus or something like that, or the destruction of America. Because right after this scene, we see the flagpole outside. We mentioned how it was midnight in the classroom. Well, the clock tower outside shows midnight as well, and the flag is torn in half as it's whipped in the wind. So I would say this exit door kind of represents some type of biblical type moment, whether we're crossing the Atlantic Ocean, walking across like Christ, or it parts and we walk across like Moses, whatever. Maybe we'll get to look at Atlantis on the way. But anyway, that's what I think this is kind of representing. And I was wondering about the apple rolling down to the foot and turning into a lotus. Well, today when I rewatched it, I noticed that at the end of the video, the Christos figure is riding through water with lotus flowers in it. So I think there's a connection back to this scene here, because that's the only other place we see lotuses. But anyway, that's what I had to add there.
I gotta mention
Let's let Andy jump in real quick. It doesn't have to be quick, but hold that thought, Gabe.
Okay, yeah, going off the same kind of a thing, I also thought that instead of it being July, that the rabbit would represent Lepus. At first, I thought, Easter, a lot of people were talking about it was Easter, but it makes more sense where it's positioned that it would be Lepus, but I don't know a lot about the minor decans, but I guess I'll let Gabe go now because he knows more about that. So.
Well, JFK's birthday is right on Lepus in the minor deacons. So yeah, I agree. I totally agree. That
he wasn't doing minor Dickin. He was major Dickin.
major Dickens. So I was just going to say the High Priestess card is powerfully at play in this image. High Priestess has the Torah in her lap. She has a toroidal apple in her lap. And then we've got the 1 and the 2.
And then, Gabe, it becomes a lotus. And if you switch the L to the R, lotus is rotas.
Rotas, forward and backwards, coming and going. And then the 12 characters are a J and a B, a 1 and a 2. She got the 2 pillars, Joachim and Boaz behind her also.
I'll notice also she's sitting in a magical circle, which could be honey, because honey and apples are associated with Rosh Hashanah. But pardon, Andy. Go ahead.
I also think that there's symbolism in this to suggest the femininity of the sun and the masculinity of the moon in different points throughout this. And so that circle, which is inscribed in gold, and then the 12 around her, could be that this is this Eve is the Yad-He Vav-He version
God.
of Eve.
Yeah, she also has a rose in her hair, and she looks kind of prim and proper, like a little Christian girl, so like a Rosa Christian. And then going back to the 2 halves of the apple, I kind of thought of Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and then it kind of got the answer to like why that would come together from Alan Marcus. It was talking about Lotus Notes, and I was like, well, Steve Wozniak is still invested in lots of other tech companies that are associated with Lotus Notes, which is no longer called that. But I'll get more into that later on. We'll see how that ties in. So, especially with like the Lambda stuff coming out.
Yes, the lamb, indeed.
Jobs is a J to the B, for the record.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a really good comment here in the Vibe Rant call-in line from Benjamin Hoff. He says, let me read this from my phone. Oh, why did I do it like this? My bad. Should look like this. Here we all are. So Benjamin Hoff says the window, like whenever the scene zooms out through the window and there's the snowy scenery and you're looking through the window, reminds him of this card, the 6 of Pentacles. And I'm sorry, 5 of Pentacles. And he says it's a deacon of Taurus. So that pertains to Venus and the apple too. So that's a good catch.
Well, wait, not just that, but he's doing exactly what Obama was doing in Gabe's dream. I mean, look at the dude. He's on
on crutches.
I mean, what are the odds of that? Come on.
That's kind of creepy,
guys.
Yeah. And
also to limp like that's very Saturnian. He's always shown with a limp too, or a crutch. Saturn sometimes.
Right. Yep. Because he went through the fall and he fell out of that throne.
Oh, okay. I was always wondering, or the stone he swallowed became a stumbling block. I wasn't sure.
Is that why he's always going after Mercury's legs? He's jealous.
Yep. There's a shape here also. See the black outline of the window? It makes like a square, like this. That shape's going to come up in the iPad Goat project here in a little bit. It's like the Tower of Sauron, the top of the tower. I don't know what would you guys describe that shape as? It's like a cube or a rectangular horseshoe.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah, it's went over the mosque.
Yes.
In terms of Hebrew, it's like an upside down or inverted hay.
Nice. Nice. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Like a half of an H.
And a
Yeah.
hey is he. They call the Lord he or him a lot.
Actually, hay is also a window, just so you know. I mean, we're looking out a window there.
Well, there
He
we
is
go.
for horses.
Yeah,
Ah,
and then
Andy.
I guess Tav and Het could also be in the running for that too, because that's why I hate Hebrew as an alphabet so much. The stuff looks
meow.
way too damn similar. Hey,
It's
Het,
beautiful, though.
Tav, they're all practically the same. I don't know about that. It's not fun to learn. It's okay there's there's things about it that are cool.
Don't be
It's
a
like
heter.
gravy.
I like Greek a lot better in terms of the alphabets. Okay.
Oh, by the way, I just want to interject because we forgot to do it. If anybody wants to help us with the natal charts of George Bush and Obama, Obama's 8'4". I don't know the year. George Bush is 7'6". Don't know the year, but he is 76 because remember, Georgia Guidestones were demolished on his 76th birthday. So if we could look at the natal charts, it'd be kind of interesting to see.
Maybe a little
Anything's
beyond the
there.
scope of our time
I
possibilities.
just know we got an
but
all-star chat there. So
the chat, I would love for the chat to bring that gravy to everybody for sure. I mean, if they pull out something mind-blowing, we're gonna have to talk about it, but we'll try to keep this ship on course here the best we can. So what do we make of the black 7, the white C, if that's what it is, or LC it could be?
There's a 007, possibly.
Oh yeah, Tubal Cain.
Tubal Cain, percentage sign.
Yeah, I kind of thought L, like L as in God, and then C as in Christ. So, like, no God, but Christ somehow.
I like Lord Christ, Lord Christos, Adonai Christos. L is also very much at a slant there. So for me, it looks a lot like a Hebrew lamed, which is a shepherd's staff. And of course, the only other time we see the lotus is where we see this Christos character in the later parts. So I would say that it's fair to associate it with a shepherd's staff, because then immediately after this scene, on the outside of the school, there's some graffiti, and it's Psalm 23. 23:1 says, "The Lord is my shepherd," and it goes on. So this could perhaps be the first fruits of God, the 144,000 or something like that. And it does cause Obama to sweat. And he's got a coin at the bottom of his foot there, too.
Well, and then also, yeah, with the coin at the bottom of his foot, I did zoom in on it, and it has kind of like a Maltese cross looking thing, but the actual cross on the coin, I believe, is only from the flag of Maryland. And then it's also associated with this Order of Maurice, which Cheney in the chat said something about Colin Powell. He's one of the people that are in this Order of Maurice. And he's, obviously tied into some of these things like were pointed on the map. So I kind of think boots on the ground, Maryland, something like that.
So if his foot is a tav, which tav often means foot, we get an L. We get an LOOT because the apple becomes 2 L's. So we get a loot is another aspect of what might be rolled out there.
It looks like a crown also.
Yeah. That's even more zoomed in than I was on.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Thank you, Jenny. It's ridiculous, like that level of detail. I didn't even notice the coin, but a coin is a Cohen, which is the priest class. And it also pertains to words like the word for king as well.
Or remove the L from colon.
And it's also loot. Coins are loot.
Loot backwards is tool.
Nice.
And the boot loot.
Well, and where does the coin come from? The hand of Draco. And so why is this fruit making him sweat? Maybe he made a deal with the devil, and you know what I mean? And so he's like, oh man, I messed up. So who knows? But we see the seeds here producing tendrils.
Yeah.
Meow.
This looks like a crown, though, and that's actually slang for coins. Calling gold coins crowns.
Yeah, and then he had a purple tassel. So that's purple is associated with royalty.
Interesting, yes.
Also kind of looks like it could be a Globus Cruciger. Holy hand grenade.
And I will say something about that later as well.
No. So one thought is the crosswalk. He's walking on the cross here. Apple is the beginning of the alphabet, the initiation. It's the beginning of the fall of man, and he's standing on the cross here. It has a Knights Templar initiation implication there too.
And a hanged man, or just plain inversion implication, because the crown is at the foot.
Yes, inversion for sure. Nice.
He was laughing till the apple of God's eye rolled up and was like, what's up? Now he's sweating bullets.
Yeah, very interesting how the worm blooms into the lotus too. All right, we'll watch a little further now. Do we have anything on this graffiti?
Yes. I have a screenshot of it.
Is there
that's
in the
stuff.
slideshow?
Yeah.
All right, let me get that.
So just a quick comment. All those windows are 3x3. That's the Saturnian magic square, 3x3, but they're also crosses of Lorraine. It's the Lorraine cross as well.
And Cheney wants to point out St. Andrews.
They're pound signs or hash tags as well, reminiscent of like a net, which the cube and the net, we talked about that a lot with our good man Lucas a few weeks back.
Yeah, that was a heck of a gravy train right there. All right. So what I wanted to point out is that, yeah, the light is just on the 23, and it's the focus is more on the 23 than on the psalm part. And we got the lightning again coming out. So the 23rd chromosome is what is responsible for your gender. And then they have, again, it's like it's trying something about like electricity or the lightning, whatever they're going to be doing to like divide the feminine from the masculine is kind of a common theme throughout the video. Just like with the brain they had back there. So that's kind of my take on Psalm 23. And they also read Psalm 23 after the towers fell. So,
dude.
So on the subject of the lightning bolt dividing the masculine and feminine, I forgot to say this when we pointed that out with the brain poster, but Zeus, who is Deus or Deus, Zeus mythologically divides the original human beings who are hermaphroditic. They have like two heads and everything. They are male and female in one being, and they're like happy, and it's paradise for them. This is very much like the whole Lilith and, was it Samael being divided in their copulation, or Tefnut and no, who's the other one? Nuit, I think maybe. There's Egyptian mythology about this too. Like the original masculine and feminine, earth and sky, are in eternal connected copulation, and then someone comes in like Shu or like Zeus.
Yeah,
both.
Shu divides Geb and Nuit.
Yeah, Geb and Nuit. That's who it is. Is it Geb and Nuit or Geb and Tefnut? Tefnut
Yeah,
is
the
shoes.
new
Tefnut is
maybe
shoes
it's the
consort.
starry sky that arches
Yeah.
over the earth.
Yeah, so
And the sky
when
divides.
Zeus does this, he does it with his thunderbolt specifically. Hits all the Adam Cadmon
Yeah.
being with the thunderbolt, divide him right in two. Like that Tool song.
Yeah, I just thought that immediately.
And we get a nice crop here from Jen, also showing kind of the Oz possibly here.
Oh, nice.
It's good.
That lightning
Great
path
catch.
is also leading toward the light.
And
Yeah.
Kabbalah,
And
if you look at the path through the 10 emanations, it's like a lightning bolt as well.
Isn't
Well,
this
the
with
lightning
the
path's
thing
a
through it
specific
a
path.
letter?
Say that again?
Oh, isn't the O with the line through it? Isn't that like a Greek letter?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Omega.
Yeah. Huh.
It might be Phi
Okay.
actually, but Omega is like the Libra symbol, I think.
Yeah,
Like
you're
an
probably
ohm
right. I'm looking right now.
resistance symbol.
You're right. That's a phi symbol. You're totally right.
But 23 is also the date for Judgment Day traditionally. It's this fall equinox, incidentally. The fall. quote
And
unquote.
23. Oh, yeah, 23. Never mind.
And me.
Let's continue.
Well, I'd like
There's a lot of 23 Robert Anton Wilson stuff. Well, there's that.
You know, I like the DNA aspect because there is a little subtle mound of snow right under the 23 that is also lit up by the light, which makes me think of people who venerate sacred mountains in particular, which I think often is an encode for the pregnancy, for the mother and the birth.
So just in that little clip, we got a clock tower, the Father Time, Cronus Phallus there, the flagpole, and the flag gets torn in two.
Yeah, and then we have a shark again in the background in the snow. So,
Oh, the fin, the shark's
Yeah.
fin.
and then Joshua was asking, "Oh, is this Morse code for something else?" But there's Morse code throughout all those little lights and stuff like that. Not gonna decode that because that would take forever. But
Gosh, like what? Interesting that there's one star on the torn off half. That's cool.
Oh, I didn't notice there was a star on it. Good catch.
Oh,
But it's also
snap.
weird that
Okay.
it rips in. It's also weird that it rips that way, because how often have you ever seen a flag rip
That's
that way? You know.
So that
right.
okay, so that is to me a Puerto Rico encode all the way. And J-Lo at the halftime show was singing "Born in the USA" with what at first looked like an American flag, and then she busts it out. Actually, I think it's a little kid singing it next to her, and she flips
A baby
the flag.
goat? I
She
didn't know they had
inverts-
singing goats.
right? She was a Joe Biden. She was Joe Biden, and Shakira was Trump. The silver versus the gold. They were encoding the election and the convergence of Jupiter and Saturn. But this, having one star with the stripes, is definitely indicating Puerto Rico, where I have heard the birth certificates were once stored in that location. And so the song "Born in the USA" might have actually been a question. Born in the US, period. Eh? Do you think so? Are you on the ground, or are you international? Are you in the extended territories?
So Jenny pointed out also a really good point about the snow symbolism, because this is very much like a dream, the whole thing. And then there's like a clear waking up moment at the end. And Weaving Spiders last week, Abby joined us on Saturday, and we were talking about dream decoding, and I actually brought up a dream I had that involved snow. She pointed out that snow in dream symbolism representing injustice, and that is very fitting for what we're about to see as we go through this snowy wasteland.
Okay, I just got a side note on that because I came back on after you probably left and Abby was still on, but I had a dream. I was telling them about my dream, but there was snow in that dream too. It's super weird. But yeah. So there's one of the decodes that I watched like a long time ago pointed out that there's woo written out in the snow here. That's why I did this particular screenshot. So now it makes me think of Wuhan. But before they were talking about the year 2018, maybe was the Wu year on the Chinese calendar. So there's two ways of looking at it there.
And the year of the water tiger, which comes up later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One more
All
thought.
right, where are we at on slides?
One more thought on the snow is, that's street slang for cocaine.
Ooh.
And, having it piled outside of a school definitely makes me think of, how we've had many generations.
Snowden, Edward Snowden.
Snowed in on a snow day. Nice. But yeah, lots of kids on lots of pharmaceuticals for many generations. Just something to think.
Meow.
Okay, is this the shark you were talking about?
Yeah, and then we have the two kind of towers over here, and I wanted to just point out that the one lighter side looks very feminine, like a feminine from behind, and a lot of people have kind of compared them to masculine and feminine again. So
well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Now,
Hey,
it's
that
interesting
little
too, as it
dude
goes
was-
through here, it's like passing through a keyhole. There's also like a pyramid back there in the snow. There's a lot.
yeah, there's a lot everywhere. The cochina has the tragedy face on its mask.
Which is
So-
the Greek word for goat song, by the way, just to remind us that this is a gospel we're dealing with.
Nice weave.
Right. And then coming up, we have a dove-looking thing in the snow.
The Kachina character swan dives, so I think that's noteworthy because of the we look at the meaning of a black swan or event, for instance. These type of black swan events are when society makes dramatic changes, crises.
Yes.
That's all I
Also
had. I just wanted to mention.
the drama masks are encoding eclipse cycles, and the eclipses, they actually make arcs, and there's two types of arcs on a sine wave. It's a frowny face or there's a smiley face, and the course of the eclipses are always either a smile or a frown, and may be used to imply bad news on the horizon or good news on the horizon, depending on the arc of the path.
There's a bad moon on the rise.
Just wanted to share the etymology of tragedy again, literally meaning tragos, and which is goat, and adian, tragoidia, goat song. I didn't know this
well.
fact, but apparently at dramatic festivals, according to this random YouTube search, the prize for the best chorus was a goat. Wouldn't surprise me. The greatest of all time.
And they jump off a cliff too. There's that.
Oh yeah, he jumps off a cliff. This is the scapegoat too.
Scapegoating. Yep. You know, one other point on the two towers going down, I'll just point this out because you mentioned the masculine and feminine, which when you put masculine and feminine in reverse, you get FAM, fame, family, fama, which it takes a masculine and feminine to make a family. But would you say, like the first tower that went down, are you thinking that's the feminine? The one that's closer to us is more feminine, and the one in the back is more masculine?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So that corresponds heavily with one of my deocculting of the Twin Towers. That
makes sense because it's the left, feminine, right, masculine.
Yeah, yep, I totally agree.
And in most like destruction of empire, civilization, culture, historically, from what I can tell, the target is usually women first. That you corrupt the women with superstitions and things, and then they raise weak men because the women are the ones involved with raising both men and women, especially in a time where the gender roles were a little more solidified and the males weren't as involved with the raising of children anyway. So it makes sense you take down the feminine tower and then the masculine tower would fall.
Well, just like in chess, you want the queen, not the king.
Right, and she gets sent out first. She gets put in the public first. Yeah, very, very. And so that also corresponds with unum sanctum, stating that the spiritual has preeminence over the material.
Okay, we'll move forward some more. You see Osama bin Laden with his CIA patch here.
He's on the payroll.
100%.
More money, more props.
And then we only just saw the hint of the boat, but
that's a bark. That is the bark of heaven that Osiris rides through the duat.
Yep, it's the car of Dios. The car Dio.
And that's the chariot itself. Meow.
And you've got, even because this is an underworld journey, we have the classic Anubis head, which Anubis being Thoth, being Mercury, being Jesus. You know, this is a symbol of the Christos because it's the it's the what you call it, psychopomp, right?
And then
in this is like, it's almost like this spell is being cast in society and everything on the psychopomp itself, like that aspect of psyche or consciousness or the all life is the thing that has to be put into an amnesiac state to perpetuate the artificial division of that dirty electricity Zeus thunderbolt thing, separating the masculine and feminine to then bring the towers down for the whole transhuman reunification into a single pillar.
So I just dropped something in our iPad Goat Telly. This is a graphic that I actually put together for a project that's coming up on the one-on-one this Friday, but I have to show it now because it's perfect for this exact moment. We're bringing together three key ingredients from the heavens. These three constellations are in direct proximity to each other. They are in the southern hemisphere, according to my research, which kind of confuses things for me a little. I put them in the north, but when research is telling me that they're in the southern hemisphere, it's the constellation of Argos, which is a ship. It's right next to the constellation of Canis Major, the biggest of the dogs, and a Columba is a dove. And so we have a ship, a dog, and the dove, the tribe or the bloodline of David. You put those together and you get so many other myths. Saint Christopher is a dog-headed saint, often is depicted as the dog-headed saint. So Christopher Columbus, riding the ship and bringing whatever, Christianity, the Crusades to the New World, is also an astrotheological encode, because the Argus is the ship, Christopher is the dog-headed Canis Major, and Columba is the bird, this little dove down below. They are all in the same quadrant of the sky. And even St. Christopher is depicted bringing a Christ child across the water in his mythology. So all of these things are about to be unpacked in the symbology that this next scene is going to unleash into our consciousness when we see the Christ with the dog-headed boat crossing over the water.
That's really good on the Christopher Columbus weave there, because also the dove esoterically signifies black, even though it's a white bird. So it's got that whole Corvus putrefaction aspect, and that's, like burning it all down. That's what Christopher Columbus did, according to the historical narrative, if he's even real.
By the way, at trivia night, one of the answers was all artwork before 1492 was considered what? And the answer was pre-Columbian, as in Christopher Columbus.
Oh, wow.
So I did not know that. Just a weird weave that I'd mention.
That is really something. When you
Some
look
trivia
into
for you.
Yeah. So Columba, the constellation, they tell us that it didn't get its name until the 1600s. So that's kind of just, something to take or leave if you choose. But yeah, it's pretty interesting how these three constellations in proximity to each other encode so many other things. So many other things.
So looking at your slides here, what do we got? What are you making of this image at the top right here?
That's a dove. I just want, because it kind of foreshadows what's going on, since it's right in the beginning. Along with
then right after you see it, you see the black-headed Anubis.
Yeah.
So
Right
in black.
on. So have you
and
guys
it also looks like it says "woo" on it again. In the little scribbly part on the breast area, I guess.
Have you guys seen that the dove, the symbol for Dove, the brand, is absolutely Donald Trump's hair profile?
I'm sure it's coincidental. They might change it now that you said it.
Nice. Well, it turns out his family is balls deep invested in bathroom products.
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes sense that they put a run on toilet paper, because his mom's bloodline is all about family or bathroom cleaning products, and it's just trippy that he's got the Dove hairdo that matches perfect. I mean, it's perfect. You can't deny it. It's undeniable.
That's
hair
that
is the Dove.
gold toilet alchemy.
There it is. There's the board. Oh, I've got to go to the bathroom now. Thanks.
I just peeped at the Dove website, and it was kind of funny because they're marketing to black people on the front page of their website and saying hair discrimination starts as early as 5 years old. So make sure that you're using Dove products so that your hair looks good and you don't get discriminated against. So there's your black and Dove again. Weird.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the Black Madonna. The Holy Spirit's a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Sending.
I mean, Krishna means black. All these gods are depicted in black. Krishna, Osiris, Adonis. It goes on and on. I think it's because it's the black sun is what's being encoded as in the hidden sun, which is the inner Christos, which is what is the true salvator, salvation, not the snake oil that these salesmen and middle managers and mediators offer. Oh, we'll play a little more. Let me back it up.
There goes the bark. See, Anubis is on the bark. Wolf bark.
Oh, there's oil fields in the background. I see here. Okay.
Yeah. Which those are oil derricks, and the Hebrew word derrick means way. Just so you know, same as Putin.
Awesome. Also, oil is an anagram for Leo, and the tribe of Judah carries the judgment, the hammer of judgment.
The anointing is with oil too.
This kind of foreshadows like going from oil to electric, because there's the lightning and it's gonna like take down the oil, right? Like that's what they're saying.
Great call. It's under the archway.
More Barak falling from the sky. That's the name for lightning.
Yeah, and then see, as the Christos is appearing, we have the eclipse up there, and we know during the during the crucifixion too, there's said to have been an eclipse in the Bible.
Yeah,
it was a full moon because it was Passover, so it was at least a full moon. So there could have been an eclipse because you have to have a full moon to have one. So
right.
So okay, here in
and
the
a blood moon eclipse is actually the reverse. So if you were on the moon, it would appear it would be a solar eclipse if you were on the moon, but it's a lunar eclipse for us. So that blood moon eclipse is a lunar eclipse.
If there's a moon to stand on. So we got so Jenny pointed out the verse Luke chapter 23 verse 44. Really good point here. The verse is, it was now about noon. Remember what all the clocks were showing? Could be midnight, could be noon. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3. Mm-hmm. So there's an eclipse for sure encoded in that.
Yeah, good point. And that was a supernatural type darkness too.
Yeah, because eclipses don't. Well, darkness came over the land. Can an eclipse last 3 hours as it slowly moves over?
Some people said it was so dark that they couldn't see their hand in front of their face, like it was a thick supernatural darkness. It wasn't just a typical eclipse. Apparently, that's just some of the commentary I've heard on it.
I think it might have to do with the lunar standstill. The lunar standstill is a particularly long lunar eclipse, which is an exception to other eclipse cycles.
It describes it as the moon will be as dark, or the sun will be dark as sackcloth, which is like a goat's hide, black goat hide, and then the moon would turn to blood, and the great and terrible day of the coming of the Lord. So it says. So it is written, rather.
We haven't really pointed out that Osama has these black wings. So it's like, well, does he get resurrected somehow through the CIA or, you know?
Also, think about the cone-headed dunce, George W. Bush, the supposed adversary, which is, opposer to Osama. And look at the shape of Osama's head with the beard and the turban. He is an inverted cone. So he's like the inverse of. And look behind him. His soldiers are all cone heads too.
They're all mountains.
He's getting backed. He's getting backed by the dunce heads.
And also like reference to that he's, I guess, hiding out in the mountains.
Oh, you mentioned noon, by the way, and Passover, the original Exodus or Passover, Judgment Day, as it were, was midnight. So whether it's noon or midnight, either or, that hour is associated with judgment. And so if you've ever heard of the nuclear clock ticking, it's minutes from midnight. That's like them saying, oh, nuclear Armageddon's going to take place the closer that minute hand gets to midnight. So whether or not that's what it is, that's still the same premise, kind of, I think. So
Too, also, if you flip his head over, you know, because we're saying it's an inverted cone, this thing on his beard becomes like a symbol of a meteor or a comet.
The word figure
comet,
has it as well.
This comet or meteor is on his beard, and the Greek word for hair, I'm pretty sure, is coma. And that's actually where you get the word comet, because it's got, like, you know, looks like
Hair's
it has hair coming off of it. So again, we're referencing the fact that this, like, Christos is in some kind of coma, slumber, dream state.
So the constellation or Coma and Corvus are in Virgo. So the black wings and that coma there. Even Buotes is once you cross the equinox and go into Libra, Buotes, the void, is present. And so that might be this gap in the clouds.
Butes is also a helper of Orion in the harvest. He holds a scythe.
Cool. Yeah, it's harvest time.
At the beginning, there's kind of a scythe going around that hole, if you think of it that way.
The harvest is nigh.
Interesting thing, too, about the Greek, which it isn't exactly coma in Greek. The actual spelling would be like Kappa, Omicron, Mu, and Eta, I think, or Epsilon. Something like that. So it's like Kome, but like Kome. Anyway, like it's the
pretty
E
close.
with the exactly. It's pretty close, and that's where they get the word phonetically. That's where we get the word comet from, but it means well-tended hair. He has very well-groomed hair. But interestingly, that it's actually connected to, if you add the omega to the end and make it komeo, it means to take care of or tend, which is like to shepherd, kind of similar to the idea of a shepherd.
That reminds me of the word cameo, like you make a cameo in a movie. Like if you're, you know, why can't I think of his name? The Marvel guy. He always does cameos.
Oh.
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. That's really crazy.
I wanted to mention, because I had an epiphany just now listening to you talk about the Kome. So when we see the Jachin and Boaz pillars, the Masonic tracing board, we see Virgo studying the Torah with the sheaf of wheat, and Saturn is counting her hair. So her Kome. So I wonder if sometimes when we see the comet, because there is a comet in the tracing board as well. So I wonder if the Kome appearing above in the starry sky is somehow a reference to her and her hair. That's just interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. I didn't prepare like you guys did, so this is like all hitting me as we go, hitting me all at once. Okay, should we push forward a little more? We sure have a long way to go. It's amazing. This is a 7-minute film. I'm having a good time.
And that's a
great.
And that's a goatee. And that's a goatee. Goatee.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I'll back it up to make sure we know where we're at. Only like 5 minutes to go. Doing awesome. Yeah, it looks like he's doing some kind of summoning ritual. Really weird. There's oil dripping into the water. Statue of Liberty. Oh, he became, nice one, Mario. He became a scapegoat, and he is got a goatee, and he's on the cliff's edge, which is what you do with the scapegoat, push him off the cliff. Very good, Mario.
Good. Nice.
Even with how deep we're going with this, we are missing so much.
Right.
Okay, so now inside, is this inside the Statue of Liberty? The S-O-L, the soul. There is the Orphic egg and the Watcher serpent. I mean, if we weren't sure about that stuff we were saying before about Watchers and serpents being etymologically related, there it is.
May I comment real quick?
Please.
Once the scene's over, it won't be so relevant. So the technique being used there is known as candling. So when you take a flashlight and put it to an egg, and you illuminate it to see the development inside, that is known as candling. So right now the serpent is candling that egg to observe the development of whatever it's waiting. If it wanted it to die, it would kill it. So I think it's incubating its own serpent seed, because we see that it's got a serpent wrapped around it, right? So that's just my take on that.
You know, also at this
Or like
point,
a parasite, it needs to keep the host alive.
Yeah,
Because you could guess that cord wrapping around it is also
umbilical.
what's connected, plugged into this TV.
right?
Well, he
to
gets
this
hatched
knob.
later because there's a character known as Egghead. And
Yeah.
so after he hatches, he gets tormented by this this snake
Getting loosed.
thing. Yeah, he gets loosed by this Draco character.
Also,
And then,
What-
go ahead.
one more thing that comes to mind with all this over analyzing the birth process of the baby, it makes me think of designer babies, in the fact that now they can do these excessive testing on the mother and give her any shadow of doubt that the baby may not be perfect to the T, and then they have a whole industry waiting to take that baby off your hands, turn it into a vaccine.
Also, the Statue of Liberty, if you look at it, like right when it first comes on as being like a clock, the flame is up at the 2, and then there's like a little piece of like snow cap or whatever going towards the 3, and then this Draco TV character has a 3, like a 111 in his eye. So that's kind of interesting how that ties together. Also, it's with it being a TV, it's like, is that the only way that it can watch you? Is like through a magic mirror type of a situation? Like, it's hard. I don't think it ever shows up as just like a snake or whatever. Like, it always is through this TV lens.
Yeah, it's like the AI is the reptilian.
Wait,
That-
Yeah.
Another way of considering it is that it's like purely in the mental conceptual plane, and that is where it lives, and it feeds off of in the real through our we watch it watches us back.
So isn't a monitor a type of snake? There's a type of snake called a monitor, isn't it?
That's a lizard.
Oh, it's a
Vipers,
lizard.
you might be thinking of like a viper, but monitor lizards. Yeah, good catch though. Monitor is like a reptilian for sure. The watchers are to monitor us.
Yeah, the monitor lizard is venomous too.
Oh shit! Makes me think of the 19 snake venoms, which I'm not
And this
letting
is all-
that go. I can't
And
let
this
the
is all
19 snake
green.
venom-
This is all green, by the way. So, along with the Statue of Liberty being the same shade, I'm getting very copper-heavy vibes here, which blue bloods are kind of associated with copper blood rather than iron blood. It's the
Copperhead
sea- mine-
Road.
Hey,
Yeah, and the statue SOL of Liberty is got that green oxidization.
yeah, patina. Yeah,
Which that will also tie in again later.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that goes back to the beginning, like there's little nods to stuff at the end and the beginning, which is pretty cool.
So I'm going to pause it here. We still haven't seen the head or the crown of the Christos figure, but the heart here, the car inside, is at the solar plexus region. I find that interesting.
and it
And
looks
it's-
like his abs are hearts too.
Yeah.
Just noticed that.
And it's just like I was just saying, like it ties back to the blackboard there's 3, and they're all fake hearts. Like there's not a real heart on there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And heart of hearts, because there's a heart within a heart there too. A flaming one.
Which a flaming heart is called a sacred heart.
Thank you, Andy.
No problem.
I gotta do some spirit world because we're talking about the ab or his abs, right? So the car, which is another word for, it's connecting us to obviously like a wagon or a boat that he's in, but also the car being the car of cardio, of heart, of char, the hand, the hidden hand, the heart within. Car on his ab, that would be car ab, which would be car father, because Abba or Ab is father, like the Ab in Abraham.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
So his car abs there, referencing the heart on his abs, referencing that he's the car father of the car.
You got the keys to the car.
And Jesus is the carpenter, of course.
Like,
and
go take it for a spin.
Car, pent is referring to a word referring to serpents as well.
So the next coming is going to be of the Ford family. Is that what you're saying?
Another fun thing too, back to the whole like sort of apocryphal information about Jesus being surnamed Panther, that his father was Panther, Jesus Bar Panther. Find that interesting too, because pant, P-A-N-T, is very close to pent. So I think that car pent is a lot like car pant, carpenter, car panter.
Son of the pant, son of the breath.
And then Pentecost, panties cost.
There's a lot of weeds to go into on this subject. We'll just play a little more. Let's got something, Gabe.
Well, the heart has the 3 layers to it, which whether you see it as like concentric hearts or stacked hearts, it's a 3x3. Either way you weave it, which goes back to the scene in the classroom with the 3 hearts on the wall again.
Nice. Or like heart cubed.
There it is. Nice. I love it.
D says, I think those abs are bums. Could be anything.
The secret of magic is in the butt.
Ab is also Aleph Bet, which is house of the bull. So the spoken word are bulls. So any edicts from the house of God would be Ab.
Ab is also without, if you use it as a prefix. So the ab heart here is like without heart as well.
Abracadabra.
Ooh.
We see that he's sleeping. And here's the genie in the bottle. That is definitely a djinn. Tormenting egghead, shellhead boy. Interesting that one of his canine teeth, we'll pull up Andy's slides here because they got a good pause. He's got gold on one of his, is that one of the canines? No, it's not. That's, what's the tooth called between the front 2 teeth? It's an incisor. Okay.
Perhaps.
What is that tooth
canine,
called?
actually.
The canines are the sharp ones, like the fangs, right? What's between the fangs and the front teeth? What's that tooth called?
Jenny.
Real quick.
While we're looking for that, under his eye is Ab Cow, order Ab Cow. So you got AB again, abs, AB Cow under his left eye. So again, if you go to Zechariah 11:17, you'll read about the sign and mark of an idle shepherd is that God will darken his right eye and wither his right arm. And this is a $5 bill that's used as the like template or texture for his face. which is Abe. And the only demon I know with the nickname Abe is Abe Zephivod, which is the son of Beelzebub, and he's imprisoned under the Euphrates River, or excuse me, the Red Sea, where the Egyptians were fleeing Egypt. He chased after them with a bunch of pharaonic army soldiers and got trapped in the river or the sea underneath all the water with them. So that's one of the significances of all the water drying up in these areas. Like with the Euphrates is supposed to have the 4 horsemen, the Red Sea is supposed to have a Zephibod. So it's possible that this could be him.
And then also in his left eye is that 3 again. And I think I finally figured out how that's remembered how that's significant. So there's the second coming of Christ, right? But then there's, according to Nostradamus, there's 3 antichrists. And so that would have been, people believe that the first was Napoleon, the second was Hitler, and then, you know, this Draco could be representative of the third.
Okay, so we got a share of a giant monitor lizard in the Vibe Rant call-in line.
Holy.
No, that's he's monitoring those prices.
Holy crap. That is way too big. That is a big lizard. We also got a zoom in shot on his chin, the Jin chin. And yeah, it's a $5 bill. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Norvos Ordos Secularum.
And then if you go back to the slides, the egghead has a bunch of pills and needles hanging out right next to him.
Oh, yeah, and he's wearing yellow. So going back to the same position that the heart was in, solar plexus yellow.
Yeah.
King
Plus
in Yellow
his,
is also a Cthulhu thing.
yeah. His bottom half looks like a pharaoh, something a pharaoh would wear.
I wonder what the significance is of if that's just lighting or if there's like a line shaved out of his eyebrow.
He used to have an eyebrow piercing.
He's making a fashion statement.
You know,
It's maybe a mark.
So the egghead here makes me think a lot of when Luke Skywalker takes the mask off of Darth Vader. That moment, Darth Vader has a very egg-shaped head, and it's even cracked open.
It's white like that, yeah.
Yep, very pale. And this kind of the imagery with the cord going there hails back to the apple, where the apple was opened, and the first time we saw the cords combining between the 2 halves of the apple, which makes me think of the fact that there is inside of the systems that we use to communicate, that there could be it could be a poisoned apple, that we use these Kabbalistic systems that could be for some a certain degree of hazard that is not disclosed to us when we consume the education we're given.
Well, let's just put it out there that what we're calling Jinn, my experience with the things in the biofield shows to me that like all energy is in some way connected to the universal ether and consciousness. And if you are ever trapping energy into some closed loop circuit, that energy becomes stagnant and deranged over time, like vampiric and hungry to feed because it's not connected to something that it can draw that universal energy from, to put it simply. So like the technology we use and all these cords connecting everything externally, well, it's very much the object of worship for humanity right now, just like the other things that the controller class is always given: external saviors, external worship. And even thinking about the word cord, which is what connects all of these electrical systems that possibly like Jinn live within and travel through. Core D, car dio, core D It's like an external car of Dios, something like that. It's like Dios, in terms of a name for God, is referring to a dual God, like Janus. So maybe like the external God is the evil, the Satan. The internal God is the Christos, the Redeemer, something like that.
Yeah, I dig it. It also makes me think of the opposite of having the dunce cap. It's like, these world leaders, their knowledge is complete, but they play it stupid like it's not. And this kid here, he's exhausted himself with attempting to know a thing, and his because there wasn't full disclosure on what he wore himself out here with. He's paying the price now.
And here we see that his enslavement, it all has everything to do with stocks and bonds, which of course we know those financial instruments are more like weapons of mass slavery. I mean,
well, the stock and
what do they
bond
put-
are also words for you put people in the stocks.
right.
When
They're bonded in the
bonds are
stock.
bondages. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
And
I was
market.
trying to.
It's animal-like.
I was trying to show each of
He's
the
marked.
numbers.
Marked. He's got the mark.
In his eyes, the
Mhm.
bio. Oh, dude, that's coming too. Don't take it, guys.
And then it's got GE in the other eye, which could be General Electric. I mean, if you just took it as just the GE, which powers a lot of bigger companies.
The market takes a swan dive, you could say.
Yeah, I was trying to get to where you could see the actual numbers.
The GE, you can rearrange it to NEG, it has negative.
Energy.
Yeah, or egg.
Or energy. Nice.
In egg.
In egg.
In EG.
So why is he called Egghead? I wonder. I mean, he comes from an egg, right? So, but what's Egghead means? Like a smarty pants, right? Like somebody that's astute.
Yeah, but his head is empty. But it's like the cosmic egg thing, I think.
No yolk.
Yeah, his yolk is like all over his shirt.
Yeah, dude. He's literally yoked with his yolk.
Awesome.
Egg
I
on his
love
face.
that.
Well, he's yoked to the external God. Even like the idea, the word yoga in Hindu means like to yoke. You're yoking yourself to God, but it's through an internal practice. So like he's yoked externally to the external.
That's a lot like Yaldabaoth, because he's known as the blind god, and this character is a serpent-like entity with one eye. So it kind of even makes me think of him.
I like that a lot. Good catch on the yoke.
And the pyramid on his chin is the one eye at the top, which he has. So
Yeah.
it's like he gives his power from above to below, or however you want to look at it. The dragon.
So it looks. I always think when I see these bombers hitting the mosque here, which has got all the lunar symbolism on it too. I always think that it looks like. See if I can pause it at the exact right moment. But to me, I see like a brain being attacked.
Right.
Do you see what I'm
And-
saying?
Also, like, it looks like the chin of the Draco character. Like, with how, like, if you just cut off his chin part, and then there's his little beard. And it's even got like a mountain kind of on it, so just like the pyramid.
The crescent moon at the top kind of reminds me of the blood moon that we saw in a previous scene. And in fact, I think the crescent moon used for the Muslim religion is actually a date, like an astrological version of a date. So I think it's when that star would appear there with a crescent moon, which the star might actually be a planet like Venus or something like that. But yeah.
This is a really good catch, Jenny. The planes look like drafting squares or rulers.
Yeah.
Masonic squares. Yeah.
That's
Right
what I
on.
thought they looked like.
New
And then
rulers.
the pillars of fire coming out of them, because they always use that 2-pillar symbolism. So then they got the 2 pillars, like shooting them off.
They're also stealthy looking, so it could be a false flag where it's bombed and then blamed on somebody else or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
That would definitely. That makes me think. Like they say that the Mario points out the Aqsa Mosque at the Temple Mount. They say that the end times really kick off when the mosque there gets taken out or something. I've heard that. So makes me wonder if that is something planned for some future event, a false flag on the Temple Mount, because it really is like it is on top of kind of a mount type thing, you could say. I wonder what to make
exalted.
of this city tilting backwards, these buildings tilting away from. Is it like suggesting that the urban centers are leaning away from the spiritual or religious?
Oh, good. That's a good take. One thing that I think about that the buildings were designed in anticipation for this event, that they were expecting to be in the right place at the right time to watch everything go down, much like certain towers in New York. And also the 5 points of the explosion, that's indicating Venus, the 5 petals of Venus.
And then all the lights again are Morse code. And then we got.
You see that? Those were black birds.
Yeah.
Check it out. Black birds, and then kind of like a dove thing before it becomes a dragonfly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely backing up the whole dove black encode. And I didn't mention it, but like in Gaelic, the word dub, D-U-B-H, is black. So V and B switch between languages. So dove and dub, not a stretch at all.
Right. And also, when
And here's a black Madonna too.
Yes. And when Moses lets out first, I think a raven first and then a dove afterwards, it's all alchemical. It's that negredo to ash to negredo to ash, part of the process.
Yeah. And then this scene here, Joshua shared a picture in our private chat, and it's based on a statue that is in the Notre Dame, which will come up later, and also going back to the Globus. I'm going to mess it up if I try to say it right.
Cruciger.
Yes, Cruciger. I was like, Crucible? That's not it. And that's all my brain could think. But that's what I think this is here, creating the explosion. And what my theory is of what is in the Globus Cruciger is Jesus's tears, because they used to, back in biblical times, use tear catchers. And a lot of them look very similar. So, not really sure how that would end up making a bomb, but that's what I think is in there.
That is very interesting. So that makes me, oh man.
They did collect his blood,
yes,
by the way. So at the very least.
So in Catholicism, they have, I believe it's the 9 implements of the suffering of the Christ. And there is something to be said about those 9 aspects being potential psychological triggers for the Christian masses. And if you hit the code in the right order on those 9 psychological triggers, you can activate the proxy warriors of the Christians and get them all fired up and ready to march on whatever you want to point them at. So I think there's something to that, the tears of the Christ, the suffering of the Christ. and fomenting violent acts in the future.
Totally.
So the blowing up of the mosque too, you have that lunar crescent above it. That symbol could also symbolize Venus, by the way, because Venus eclipses like the moon,
exactly,
or creates a crescent like the moon. I've always thought that the crescent for Islam was more of a reference to Venus because there's a 5-pointed star with it. However, we could also be looking at this like the phallic nature of this mosque and connecting the moon to the masculine, as there's another reason to do so later in the film, and the solar with the feminine. Could be that this is the destruction of the masculine as well, because right after that is where we see, in a second, we see this dead child here being mourned by the mother. So also I'm wondering what she's holding.
If you go to, it's called the Pieta. It's where Mary's holding Christ dead in her lap. So that might be a flask of myrrh. If she's Mary, myrrh and Mary. And you use myrrh
gotcha.
to preserve a body. So that would be where the scarab's showing up again.
And Adonis's mother was Myrrh.
Oh, really? Well.
Yeah, the name of Adonis's mother was Myrrh. Very close to Mary. Buddha's mother is Maya. Mercury's mother is also a Maya.
So yeah, and then we
the
have
dying and resurrecting sun.
The kid like has the left eye out again, and so
It'd be his right eye though, right?
Oh no, yeah.
Well,
you're
it's
right.
the same. It's the same as Draco though. So
yeah,
it's dark. So again, that's a symbol of an idol shepherd, black eye.
And then whenever they show Anubis, his right eye is also out.
Yeah, on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scarab on his head, right? Would you say that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's kind of mummified as well.
Correct, which is part of the myrrh procedure. They would pour myrrh over top of the body. And myrrh, frankincense, gold, frankincense, and myrrh were also brought to Christ at the birth. The three magi, as they say, were the magi. That never really says how many of them there are, but there's 3 gifts brought. So it's only assumed that each had a gift. But myrrh.
We also have the tragedy goat song mask here at the dying part of the sun.
What's on his head? Is that of any significance? It looks like Native American-ish with a feather and.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be a Kachina, because then yeah. Even the thing that he's in is like a kiva, where they would have the dancing go on.
Yeah, there's so much going on. That headdress also kind of reminds me of the ISS. Well, you know, the images of the ISS. ISS is a gematrological encode for 911.
That's why they put everybody in in-school suspension.
Yep.
And then that wasn't legal anymore, like after 9/11, I don't think. In some places anyway.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
The blacked out eye also makes me think of the weave we got into last weekend on Weaving Spiders about the Black Eye Club and the Dionysian dye that could be used potentially to inject into the eye and give the second sight. But that could also make you crazy, possibly, I guess, kill you because they say it's toxic. There's a lot of possibilities there. The scare is also a solar symbol. So this is definitely like even this orb behind her could be depicted as like the sun going down.
It's also the dissolution of the atomic family. So what's missing? We got the mother, the son, and where's the father? So her left hand is one holding destruction. Interesting.
Yeah, I'd be
Eternal life
remiss.
of the scarabs, right?
I'd be remiss not to mention the placenta here.
Huh.
The one thing that's left out, that is the missing keystone. And then he gets then he gets his identity, his fictional identity, scribed onto two-dimensional paperwork. Yep, very powerful there.
Yeah, there's more straw man stuff coming up too, big time. Let's just move forward a bit. We might have to move a little quicker as we go. I can't believe it, but this could be a two-parter. So there we have the child soldier.
Yeah, so this is she's of the Yoruba tribe, and you can tell that from the marks on her face. I believe this man is supposed to be like a pirate, so they're like trading guns and kids to these pirates is what I think. That's why he has the Jolly Roger on his arm. And then
and
again,
the pirates are also the ones ruling the whole maritime admiralty straw man fiction thing too.
Oh, it's like a child bride. Okay.
Yeah, that's why he unwraps her like a gift. And then she also has a heart in her hair, which I think is interesting.
A barrette.
Yes.
But those marks on the face were
again.
starring relating to the tribe, right?
Yeah, so in like Nigeria area, there's all the different tribes there traditionally would do the marking on the face for a beautification of their children or to show their royalty status. So she could be like a princess or something based on that. And then they believe in like orishas, which are like spirits that are like go-betweens. And then their Holy Spirit, I believe, is called Ife, which I thought was interesting because it's like life.
IFE,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been contacted on Instagram about them. They would like the guy wanted to do a ritual, wanted to know my mom's name and all this, and just kind of got a little uncomfortable. But I learned a lot about the culture in the process.
Well, that's cool. I'm usually just like, okay, whatever. Just don't respond to that.
It's like there are curses on your family. We need to remove them. I'm like, whoa. Just met you.
So, guys,
buy me a drink first.
I have a proposition.
Yeah, dude, you took it out of my mouth.
What do you guys think of reconvening for this part 2 in about 3 weeks? Because I'm getting realistic here, and we've actually only covered half of it. This gives us a chance to maybe think of more things to pop into our mind from the first half that maybe we missed. The crowd can help us out with that too in our Telegram chats, and that way I don't feel sort of like rushed to go through the second half, because the second half is just as important as the first half. And I've got Vibe Rant open on the 31st, so that's not too long. People won't forget what we're talking about, and this is simple enough and short enough that I think it won't be that hard of a stretch to do a part 2. What do you guys think? Part 2 this thing?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Because, yeah, as Cody just says, the second half has so much gravy, and I'm like,
yeah,
we're looking at a 6-hour stream, and I don't have the steam for that. I go to bed earlier than that, and I don't want to rush it. I want to treat the second half with the attention that we gave the first half, and it's been really amazing. That being said, do we want to give any closing thoughts for our weave so far up to this point? We can start with Andrea, and then Gabriel, and then Joshua.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting to see everybody's different little 2 cents on everything, and definitely gives me some different ways to look at the other half. Really looking forward to doing the second half because, yeah, I'm excited for that part.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Andy. You've been great. We'll have to get you on more Vibe Rants, and it looks like we will. We got one now on the books, 8:31, guys. Come forward. There's no going back. Come forward for more of this decode. It's really good stuff. This is as fun as I thought. Great Vibe Rant birthday. I'm glad that it's getting a part 2.
Totally. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because I have to admit, like, I didn't do as much preparation as I would have liked. So giving us a little leg room, I can really dig in on some preparation and just to tempt everybody to come back for the next part. I already happen to know there is a huge bomb waiting to be dropped on some current events that have happened that seem to be very clearly laid out in this 10-year-old little project. And I was hoping we would get to that bomb, but I think if we save it, we can dangle it like a carrot for the people who want to come back for part 2, because it is a huge deal. I'm super excited about it. And yeah, maybe we can have more prep, more to present on the second half. That's a good call.
Yeah, that way, because I was already starting to feel like I was pushing us faster than we had to go in terms of just every little detail. And this is gonna be really fun to do a part 2. I like this. I mean, who else does 6 hours potentially on 7 minutes? That's good gravy for sure. Joshua, you got any closing thoughts for us, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what I could say that can't be said better by just maybe showing the clip of Bush sitting in front of the kids. I mean, thank God it's still on YouTube, so we could kind of do that or at least share it in the chat with people. But I think showing that would we've got to see the classroom clip. So, ending with that could maybe show people like how truly strange this production is,
Oh, that is the lady.
There you go. There you go.
That's the lady.
Yep. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I want to end with right there is to really emphasize how close that classroom is to compare what's in the classroom actual to what's in the production is kind of interesting. And what they have reading in the video here, I'll drop the video in the chat. So what they have the kids saying are the steel kite hits the building or something like that, and then she makes them read it like really fast and over again, and then they talk about the pet goat. Literally, like they're having the kids chant and recite these weird pentameter type lessons. I mean, I would really like to see what they're reading out of. Was this after school Satan materials? Because that's now a thing, apparently. Of course, this was years ago.
Yeah, and look at the boom mics.
Vogue.
They had like multiple boom mics to make sure. Yeah, they're making sure we hear every word.
Yeah, it was like they knew that this wasn't just some random visit to a classroom, that this was all part of the goat spell.
Man, I wonder where these kids are today. I wonder if they are tracking these
crisis actors.
If these children are not vessels for future intentions.
Said that.
And there's one kid in yellow. There's one kid with a yellow shirt, just like our egghead child. I wonder if there's a bald girl or a blonde-headed girl, like we had in our, the high priestess.
I just think it's ironic that Kanye could say George Bush doesn't care about black people when he went to a capitalized black classroom here.
Where were you when 9/11 happened?
So another thing, look at this back here. It's like this doll has evil red eyes or something. Is this the Watcher on the shelf?
Redheads have souls. Chance.
What'd you say?
They have souls too.
Who dolls? These weird. Look at this
No,
weird doll.
redheads. Redheads.
Oh, redheads. Okay. It is redheaded. Whatever it is. Yeah, there could be a lot more research done on that day of infamy. What was really going on in that classroom? Another thing to look at, maybe before we wrap up, is another share from more gravy that Jen shared with us here about that crazy Obama costume. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot going on here, but apparently that costume is related to Kybell.
That's a Kybell costume?
Yeah.
Well, that's
guys, I can't take it.
So this infographic has more detail in a file version shared on the Telegram. So join the Vibe Rant Telegram group, guys, if you want to see all the cool stuff that's being shared in there. And there is so much.
She's considered the goddess of forces or fortresses.
That's
so
right.
Another nod
She's basically the Phrygian version of Rhea, which is Saturn's wife. So this costume refers to Obama being like the ritually castrated stand-in of the wife of Kronos or Saturn.
Or Kingu, Tiamat's consort.
Guys, there's so much going on there. I mean, there's so much going on there. And that's the breakdown on this dude who's next to him, huh? Arthur Davis.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Jenny with the gravy.
Yeah, and this is low res, but there's a high res version where you can read all the little text here. There's a rabbit holes, rabbit warrens, so much to get into here.
Man, I tell you,
another good point. Yeah, dude, petting goats, petting kids, that's all in the mix as well.
Barack Obama is like one perpetual provocateur who will never stop provoking, if nothing else, profound thoughts. But good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, and dreams apparently. But yeah, just look at that face. You know he loves it, what he's doing.
Well, if you recall, when they did there's some type of Christ-related production where the devil did look strikingly similar to Obama, and I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the Passion of the Christ, I don't think, but it was one of those really well-known productions.
All right, guys, what do you think?
You've got a brother too, by the way.
Ready to clock out? See you guys over on the Flow State on Weaving Spiders Webs. Awesome chat. Thanks for hanging with us this whole time, everybody. It's been a fun one. Catch you guys on the next Wednesday.
Yeah,
see you at the obelisk. See you at the obelisk.